Okay, the Aggies have a matchup this Saturday night with Boise State, but first we're going to recap the first four games as well. From our first podcast episode ever, we said these first four games were going to be huge in seeing what this team is going to be, what this football season was going to turn out to be. And then, obviously, Utah State, with this matchup on Saturday after a loss to Air Force, is going to be huge to try to turn things around and get a leg up on the Mountain West Conference and the Mountain Division in the Mountain West. So, welcome to the Aggie Up Podcast. I'm Isaac Draxler. We've got Seth and Brian on as well. We got canceled on by the Boise State expert, Boise State insider, guy who covers Boise State. We got canceled on. We thought we were going to have somebody on from Boise State, but that didn't happen. So that's okay. We'll break it down for you. We want to get some feedback on Twitter. We've got a few questions to go over. All three of us are on here, like I was saying. So we'll have a lot to talk about. How you guys doing tonight?
Good. I'm good. Let's get started.
I'm fabulous.
Brian, Seth, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm fabulous.
I'm here and I'm ready to go.
I think I can hear you now. Brian, what's new? It's been a while since we heard from you.
Just taking a look at the final stats from last week's game against Air Force.
Yeah.
And offensively, I feel like we did enough statistically that we should have won that ball game. You know, Kent Myers went 29 to 47, threw an interception. It turned out to be a bad one. But 360-yard passing and a touchdown. Ronquavian Tarver, 9 receptions, 143 yards. Andrew Rodriguez, 7 catches, 64 yards. I mean, boy, numbers like that should win a ball game. But then you go and look at what we did rushing. And Tony Lindsay and 17 carries for 18 yards is not going to get it done.
Right.
But we need to try and find a way to balance things out. It's amazing how from week one we've gone from 8 yards rushing against Weber to 18 yards last Saturday against Air Force. Whereas against Weber, we threw for about 117 yards, and now we've thrown for 360 last weekend. We've done a complete 180 as far as things go, and we just need to find a nice happy medium somewhere.
Right.
Kent looked pretty confident, to be honest. I think after threw a couple of bad balls, Tarver bailed him out on a couple of them. Houston bailed him out one time, but after those guys are going up and getting those passes, you know, you could see the confidence start to grow, and I thought they had a really good game plan. The short passing routes, the slants and the ends, the curls, everything going for about 7, 8, 9 yards, and then letting the receiver do the work. I thought that was a good idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
But when you only have when you're leading rusher, well, I guess you're leading attempt leader, Lindsay, at 17 carries for 18 yards. I mean, Hervey came in and broke his one and only run for 26 yards. So it's not going to get it done, and everybody knows that. The coaches know it. The three of us know it. Every fan that listens to this is going to know it. Defensively, it wasn't too bad either. You know, I thought they did enough to get things done as well. And they just ended up staying on the field too long because the offense had a real long dry spell there, especially in the second half. You know, for all intents and purposes, we basically lost this game by 2 scores. Rushing down the field and punching it in with 30 seconds left hardly makes me feel any better about losing one way or the other. Alex Huerta finished with 13 tackles. Anthony Williams finished with 11 tackles. Jalen Davis, I thought, did a spectacular job on Jalen Robinette. He had a lot to prove. He had a chip on his shoulder, and he brought it to the table. So, big thumbs up to Jalen Davis. He finished with 8 tackles, broken a pass. Had that monster tackle for loss just outside of the goal line. Nearly had a safety there. Travis Seatbelt, 7 tackles. Brock Carmen, 7 tackles. So,
okay. So we'll get to that. We'll get to more of that, Brian, in a little bit. Probably, actually, maybe even the next podcast. Let me interrupt you there. We'll get to what Seth thought about the game, a quick thought, and then we'll preview the Boise State game. But first, let me just get this out of the way. I forgot to do it at the first. That's why we got to get it out of the way. Is 2 things. As far as our opinions in this podcast, we're not affiliated with Utah State. The opinions expressed in this podcast have nothing to do with Utah State or its affiliates, and also our opinions, whether critical or positive or negative or whatever the case may be. Rest assured that we're going to keep doing this podcast. We're going to keep covering the team. We're going to keep, depending on the all 3 of us, or some of us are going to keep spending money with Utah State, whether it's season tickets, whether it's away games, all that kind of stuff. If Utah State fans are worried about where this team is going or whatever, or certain things, that's fine. But really, we're just expressing our opinions, positive or negative, about these things. But like I was saying, if things got really bad, or if I guess you could worry about us if we weren't doing a podcast, if I wasn't driving to Boise on Saturday, if I wasn't driving to Colorado State, to Fort Collins in 2 weeks, then you could start to wonder if about our allegiance, or our how we are to covering the state. Just wanted to get that out there. So while I'm at it, especially and make sure everybody's checking those things out. We're bringing on more and more content with Dane Stewart covering recruiting now. We've got Kyle Haywood covering basketball coming up very, very soon, and so we're really excited about that. We're really excited about obviously the coverage that we have this football season as well. Like I just said, I'm going to be at the away games covering the Aggies, bringing in inside information, insight to this podcast and to the website. So like I was saying, we're definitely going to bring the coverage this year, this football season and this basketball season, and I don't. I mean, part of me, obviously, after these 4 games, is a little bit frustrated with some of the aspects of the 4 games, obviously, and I think these 4 games are enough to show us what Utah State is probably going to be, especially with Devontae Mays out. Down Levitt may miss a game or 2. I don't know exactly, and I think it's a little bit to be determined. It depends on how he's feeling and everything. So I think we can all kind of get out of dream world or La La Land and get real. That through 4 games of the season, the team is kind of what it is, and there's some issues, and there's definitely some things to there's definitely some things to improve, and I think. But we're previewing Boise State games, so I think there's things that could go Utah State's way. I think there's potential, and there's some things that Utah State could take advantage of as well. So Seth, what are you thinking going into this game on Saturday? Where's your head at?
My head's on straight. I don't know. It was frustrating to watch. Definitely the defense played well enough to win that game. The offense played well enough to win that game, but the 2 turnovers, they had 14 points off of turnovers, and we got a big goose egg on turnovers. We didn't make them turn the ball over, and that's kind of where the game came down to. There's some other things, that, like you mentioned, we could talk about another podcast if we're going to do one after this that we can get back to. But going into the Boise game, there's going to be a few guys out. Levitt, I don't think will play. That's just my opinion. I don't think he's going to be playing for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. Just some things that I have seen. I'm not going to mention it because I can't confirm them myself, so I don't have a source level or whatever, but just some things that I've seen and watching the replay. I tweeted out during the game, just by the replay, it looked like he might have, this is just my opinion, I'm not saying he did, but looked like he might have broke his ankle. And if you break your ankle, you might be able to get back before the end of the season. That's why we haven't seen anything on him, because there's a chance. With Mays being out, the thing is that Wells mentioned, the reason we went to the throw game because they knew it was going to be open because they put an extra guy or 2 in the box to force us to throw the ball. Well, Boise, they're going to have a hard enough time running the ball and throwing the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to come up with and how we're going to be able to move the ball. Been really encouraged by Tarver. Lewis is getting better and better. A-Rod really stepped up in that game. I thought he was just a man. He played really well. Tough catches. Didn't see much of Houston, which was kind of surprising. We had a lot of they targeted the middle. The middle was open quite a bit. That long one to Lewis and everything. So Boise's dinged up too. Boise's got a few guys that are questionable, and they had some knee problems with a couple of guys in their back end on defense. So Boise's going to be up for it. And McNichols, he's a dang good running back, and he didn't get to play last year. So it'll be against Utah State because he was held out for concussion. But I think every game that he's played in, he's rushed for a touchdown. So he's legit. So it'll be – I was really, to be honest with you, the last game, not recapping it, but I think our defense is coming along. They surprised me last weekend, to be honest with you. Just with the guys that we had on our team last year and being at that game, Air Force basically brought everybody back from last year. So it was basically we lost guys and they didn't lose guys. And those guys last year they moved up and down the field like it was nothing on Utah State. And that's when we had Fackrell and Vigil and everybody else, and we lost those guys. And these new guys that have come in, I mean, holding a team that averages over 400 yards on the ground to under 250. Like I said, the defense played well enough to win that game. But going for Boise, Rippon seems kind of, I don't know, he seems kind of sporadic this year as well. And I don't know if he's going to come out and try to prove something against Utah State because he absolutely played like he was in high school last year against them. Or it'll be interesting to see how he comes out. Is it going to be on his mind? Is he going to try too hard? Is he just not going to go out and play what he needs to play? But I don't really know what to expect because I didn't really expect what we got last week out of Utah State. I didn't expect Kent Myers to throw for almost 400 yards. I didn't expect us to only run for 40 or whatever it was. So now
what's interesting too is this year. I know last year Boise State didn't come in necessarily turnover prone, but right now, do you know what Boise State's turnover margin is so far for the year? It's -1.